Hey everyone, John from Bike Fit Advisor. So I wanted to go over this one sort of simple, painful truth about bike fitting that you really should know about. It's something that's come up a lot this week with some questions on my YouTube videos, but also in my practice. I had a couple of clients where this was very apparent this week. And so I thought this would be a good time to address it in depth. I've mentioned it before briefly in the past, but I wanted to do just a quick video to go into it just a bit more. So this truth is that few riders sit square on their saddle. Most people sit either off to one side or with one hip further forward or a little bit of both. And the reason this happens is because the bike is perfect. It's perfectly symmetrical, and we definitely are not. We have limitations all over the bodies, big and small, and they factor into how we attach to our bicycle. What I've gone over before is that the hips, or the pelvis resting on the saddle, is really it's kind of think of it as the blow-off valve for the entire system. Our hands are usually roughly going to be in the same spot on the handlebars. Our feet are roughly locked into the pedals. The hips are the one thing that can sort of shift and squirm over the saddle a little bit to dissipate some of the forces that are being pushed through the body. So what are the effects of this? Well, quite frankly, this is one of the reasons that bike fitting is so hard. For instance, I had a client come in this week where one knee, they were told by another bike fitter, one knee, because it was drifting out, that they needed pedal extender that moved their foot out into a wider Q factor, and they needed some varus wedges to cant the foot out to adjust for this. And it probably helped with maybe 20% of the problem. And the reason it didn't help more is because this wasn't the problem. This was just treating the symptoms. And this person did have a pretty big shift in how they sat on the saddle, and it needed to be addressed in other ways. Now, this shift of the pelvis, or this twist through and how it's sitting on the saddle, isn't always the primary problem for what's going on with the rider. But when it is, it can be awfully tricky to manage. When we find these, and they're really best found with some, we need pretty high-level measurement technology. So I catch this with the infrared motion capture that measures kind of the hip position relative to the rest of the body. But also I catch it with saddle pressure, which kind of shows me how the pelvis is moving and where it's located and where they're loading the saddle, etc. But when we do find this, we really need to work pretty in depth at trying to find where it's coming from. Is it coming from the person's spine? Do they have a little scoliosis, a little twist through the spine that then has to be essentially undone as you address your shoulders forward on the bike, and then that leads to a shift in the hips? Or is it due to one hip? Is one hip causing this problem? It can even come from the feet in some cases. I've had a number of clients where it's coming from the upper body, maybe one elbow that doesn't have as much extension due to a previous injury, or a shoulder that's not as stable, and they tend to hold themselves in a slightly different posture, and that translates down to the hips. No matter where it is on the body, there's usually something we need to be doing off the bike to help correct for this. And for this reason, probably the best way that an individual can address these things is simply by working on themselves off the bike, by working on their symmetry, by working on making sure each side is as strong and as coordinated as the other side. So if you have a dominant side, you need to work on that non-dominant side, doing things like, for strength, like squats and some stability exercises for the hips, etc. There are some bike fit solutions for these types of things. They tend to be fairly complicated because what we're in a lot of situations doing is setting the body up so that we're sort of tricking not the structural system, not like the skeletal or muscular system. We're trying to trick the nervous system into changing essentially the motor pattern for the rider to help sort of get things square. And there's a number of different ways that this can be done. They're not quick solutions. Really, none of these are. So without the measurement technology, it can be tough to try one of these because it's going to take some time for you to see the results of it. The better approach, I think, is often for most riders, and frankly, even if you don't have this this isn't a major or primary problem for you, it's still a good idea to continue to work on yourself off the bike, to work on these strength and flexibility and mobility differences. I just wanted to put that out there just because the next time maybe that you try a correction of your own bike fit, or you go to a bike fitter and they try some correction and it doesn't help, maybe helps less than 50%, it may be because of something like this, and this is something to be aware of. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if any of you have had experiences with this or tried to remedy it, let me know. I'd be interested to hear some of your stories. That's all I got for this one. Thanks for sticking in there with just this quick little video, and I will catch you next time.